Today we're talking about copper toxicosis in dogs, what it actually is, how it affects the American Dirus dog specifically, and why you're hearing about it now. And most importantly, what you can do to make sure it never becomes a problem in your dog's life. Hello, fellow packmates. This is Jennifer Steckel from the Direwolf Project, where science meets the Ice Age. We're the only breeding program in the world recreating the exact bone and body structure of the extinct prehistoric dire wolf. Not for the wild, but for your loving family den, using only domesticated dog breeds. I've been raising these incredible American Dirus dogs for over 20 years, delivering 73 litters and over 400 loyal pups to the world. You want to track upcoming litters or see which puppies are ready to join your pack? Join the inner circle at direwolfproject.com. If you love prehistoric pups and pack-centered wisdom, give us a like, hit subscribe, and let's step out of the den together. There is a quiet moment in the wild, just before a hunt begins, where the pack is still. Then, just as the wind shifts, every sense sharpens. Nothing is rushed and nothing is ignored. That's the spirit I want to bring into this conversation today. Because what we're talking about is quiet, slow, and easy to overlook, but deeply important. This is not a fear-based conversation. This is a knowledge-based one. And knowledge, when used wisely, is one of the strongest tools any pack leader can carry. So let's get started. Copper is not a toxin by nature. In fact, copper is a required trace mineral for life. Dogs must consume copper every day in small amounts because it plays a role in many different things: red blood cell formation, energy production, connective tissue strength, enzyme function, immune health, and proper neurological development. Copper enters a dog's body through food and water. And the liver is responsible for storing any excess copper that isn't immediately needed. In a healthy dog with normal copper metabolism, the liver also knows exactly when to release and excrete that excess copper so that it does not build up to harmful levels. Copper toxicosis occurs when that exit door doesn't work correctly. Instead of being excreted, copper accumulates slowly in the liver over time. At first, there are no outward signs. The dog appears normal, energetic, healthy, and vibrant. In fact, it can appear normal for years. But deep inside the liver, copper continues to collect like sediment at the bottom of a riverbed. Eventually, if that buildup becomes too great, it can cause inflammation, scarring, and eventually liver disease or liver failure. Now, what makes copper toxicosis especially tricky is that it is not caused by copper exposure alone. It is a genetic condition involving two genes known as ATP7B and ATP7A. The ATP7B gene is responsible for transporting copper out of the liver and into the bile or excretion. When there is a mutation in ATP7B, that copper cannot be exported properly, and then it becomes trapped in the liver. The ATP7A gene acts as a modifier that influences how much copper is absorbed in the first place. Together, these two genes determine how efficiently a dog handles copper in their body. When ATP7B is mutated, as is the case in some of our dogs, the dog is considered genetically, quote, at risk for copper accumulation. Importantly, this condition does not follow a simple on or off inheritance pattern. A dog only needs one copy of the mutated ATP7B gene to be at risk. But even then, not every dog who carries the gene will ever develop the disease. Dogs with two copies of the gene are at higher risk than those with one copy. But again, the presence of the gene itself does not guarantee illness. This is what is known as incomplete dominance with incomplete penetrance. In simple terms, genetics loads the gun, but environment, especially your dog's diet, pulls the trigger. Now here's the part that matters deeply for the American Dirus dog, and any dog who has a predisposition to copper toxicosis. At this time, copper toxicosis is the only known genetic disease present in the Direwolf Project breed, according to DNA testing. It is present across all lines of the American Dirus dog, even those that do not contain the most recent lab Shepherd cross in 2022. This tells us that the gene has been quietly present in the population for generations, maybe even going all the way back to the beginning of the breed in 1988. The reason no one knew about this until recently is simple. Until May of 2024, there was no DNA test available to detect copper toxicosis in dogs. Once Embark Veterinary introduced that test, everything changed overnight for us. Because at the Direwolf Project, we DNA test every single puppy born without exception. Not just our breeding dogs, not just when it's convenient, every puppy, every litter, every time. It's one of the 4 pillars of the Direwolf Project that we call the strong bred dog. And the very first litter we tested after copper toxicosis became available revealed that all 9 puppies in that litter had inherited 2 copies of the ATP7B gene. That moment could have been hidden. It could have been ignored. Heck, I could have buried it in a file drawer like so many other breeders do. But instead, we chose transparency, as we always do. We told our entire inner circle immediately, publicly, and without softening the truth. Now, this is where I want to slow everything down for a moment, because this is where panic tends to set in. When people hear that a dog has 2 copies of a disease gene, they often imagine a ticking time bomb. But that is not what is happening. Having the ATP7B gene does not mean your dog is sick. It does not mean your dog will become sick. It doesn't even mean your dog is currently storing abnormal copper levels. It simply means that your dog's liver may not excrete excess copper as efficiently as a dog without the gene. Over the entire 36-year history of the American Dirus dog, we know of only 1 reported case of liver disease in the breed. 1. And we do not even know if, with any certainty, whether copper played a role in that particular case. That means this gene has been quietly present for decades in the breed without expressing as widespread disease. Why? Because environment matters, diet matters, and now finally, knowledge matters. To understand how to manage this whole situation realistically, we need to talk about how much copper a dog actually needs, okay? So let's look into that. According to AAFCO, which governs pet food nutrition standards in the United States, adult dogs require 1.8 milligrams of copper per 1,000 kilocalories of food, which translates to roughly 7 milligrams of copper per kilogram of dry food. Puppies and growing dogs require slightly more, around 3.1 milligrams per 1,000 kilocalories. These numbers represent the minimum amount of copper needed to sustain normal bodily function. And here's the critical issue. AAFCO currently does not set any maximum limit for copper in dog food. Let me repeat that. AAFCO does not require a maximum for dog food. That means dog food manufacturers are free to add copper far beyond what dogs actually require. And many of them do. Some modern commercial dog foods contain 2, 3, or even 5 times the minimum copper requirement. The liver can tolerate some excess copper, but when excess becomes chronic, day after day, year after year, and the dog's genetics make copper excretion inefficient, that is when copper toxicosis develops. Recently, an American Dirus dog owner asked a very good and thoughtful question. She wanted to know whether feeding a raw diet would provide too much copper and make copper toxicosis worse over time. This is a fair concern, especially because one of the richest sources of dietary copper in nature is beef liver. A single ounce of beef liver contains roughly 4,000 micrograms of copper. That sounds terrifying until you understand how raw diets are actually structured. Liver is not meant to be fed in large quantities. In a properly balanced whole prey raw diet, liver should make up only 5%. Only about 5% of the total diet. Not half, not daily in large chunks, no. Just a small but powerful portion of the whole. And when liver is fed in that correct proportion, it becomes one of the most beneficial foods a dog can eat. Liver provides extraordinary levels of vitamin A for vision and immune health, B vitamins for energy and neurological function, iron for oxygen transport, zinc for immune defense, and yes, copper for enzyme function and metabolic health. It is like nature's multivitamin. The problem is not liver itself, okay? The problem is excess. Just like with copper in general. A properly constructed raw diet does not cause copper toxicosis. A mismanaged diet does. In the wild, wolves eat entire prey animals in balance. They consume muscle meat, bone, organs, blood, and connective tissue in natural proportions. Copper enters their system as a quiet built-in trace mineral, not sprayed on to kibble as a preservative or fortification agent, okay? When we feed dogs in this same biologically appropriate proportion, copper does not flood the liver, okay? It flows through the system the way nature designed it to. This is where the great irony of low copper prescription diets comes into play. Many of the veterinary recommended hepatic kibble formulas are indeed low in copper, but they are also extremely high in carbohydrates, seed oils, grains, and synthetic fillers. They often contain little to no real animal protein. Yes, they may reduce copper load, but at the same time, they increase the risks of so many things. Let me name a few: obesity, insulin resistance, diabetes, chronic inflammation, poor coat quality, poor cardiac health, reduced immune function, dental disease, and behavioral instability related to poor neurological nutrition. In other words, they solve one small problem while quietly creating 5 more huge problems. That is not true healing. That is simply shifting the burden from one organ system to another. The real strategy for managing copper toxicosis risk is not copper elimination, okay? Copper is essential. The real goal is copper control. That means meeting biological minimums without chronic excess. That means avoiding high copper treats, avoiding excessive liver supplementation, avoiding commercial foods that far exceed copper requirements, rotating proteins wisely, monitoring liver values as your dog ages, and maintaining an overall anti-inflammatory, species-appropriate diet. This is how you keep the liver strong. You do not starve the body of what it needs. You give it what it needs, but no more. As a breeder, this conversation is not academic for me. It's actually deeply personal. We have removed extraordinary dogs from future breeding plans because they carried 2 copies of the copper toxicosis gene. Dogs with beautiful structure, dogs with remarkable temperaments, dogs who in another world would have shaped entire generations. But health must always come before ego. At the same time, we do not destroy an entire breed over a manageable genetic condition. We do not burn lineages to the ground when science gives us tools to manage everything intelligently. We strategically outcross. We track relentlessly. We breed with intention. And we clean the genetic slate without collapsing the diversity of the breed. That is how responsible conservation works. That is how wolves survive harsh winters without destroying the pack. If your American Dirus dog carries the copper gene in 1 or 2 copies, what you have is not a death sentence. You have a responsibility. You have awareness. You have direction. And now you have power. This condition is rarely expressed, easily managed, and entirely monitorable with modern veterinary care and intelligent feeding. This is not a silent predator. It is simply a trail marker on the map of your dog's life. And now that you can see where that marker stands, you will never be caught wandering blindly into danger. The American Dirus dog is rare, not just in form, but in the integrity behind the program that protects it. There are so many breeders in the world. There are very few who choose radical transparency. We believe ignorance is not bliss. We believe truth is protection. And we believe that pack leaders do not hide the tracks of danger from their people. Instead, they point to the danger clearly, stand beside the pack calmly, and show the way forward with steady confidence. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Copper is not your enemy, excess is. The liver is not fragile. It is resilient by nature, when respected. And your dog is not doomed by a single gene. With knowledge, mindful feeding, and long view leadership, copper toxicosis becomes not a threat at all, but a manageable whisper in the background of an otherwise powerful, vibrant life. The pack does not survive by pretending danger does not exist. The pack survives by seeing the danger clearly and walking forward confidently anyway. Want to meet more of our amazing American Dirus dogs? This video right here highlights their amazing personalities. Don't miss it.